Welcome to a place where love grows. And this is the truth. And the place is within. And we welcome each and every one to experience love on a greater and greater level. And part of that is what we do. And the most important thing about what we do, and I mean, not just here at One Love, I'm talking about places and churches and centers of spiritual teaching, wherever they may be. And we have a wonderful spiritual teacher here with us today, Daphne Germaine, and she's going to provide us with a wonderful act of love. And that is our opening prayer. I like to call it evocation. And so I'm going to turn it over to Daphne. Welcome again, and let her bestow her blessings upon us.
Thank you so much, Reverend Rodney. It is a pleasure to participate in your service that is doing outreach. And so as we turn within, let's just take a breath and bring our attention to our intention. The choices that we are making are life transforming. And that transformation may not just be within our own life, but the lives of those others that we touch. So as we are mindful of the far-reaching energy of our love and our light, let us be intentional. So I just give thanks for this day, where we have a new opportunity to choose anew, to restore and to uphold the choices that we've made that are for the highest and greatest good of all. The greatest gift is the gift of consciousness, to be aware that our life is God's life. There's no other life. And as we are conscious of this truth, the blessings of Spirit pour through us are made available for our awareness of how to be and what to do, so that we not only lift ourselves, but we lift our community. Our consciousness can lift the world. I love to profess that I am one in the 1% that is lifting the 99. And so I'm just speaking this word, calling for all of those who are in attention right now to join me in this consciousness of being in the 1% that can lift the 99, because with God all things are possible. So we make that choice today, and we remember to remember. And so from this place of high consciousness and great intention, I just release this word, knowing that it is already done. And so it is. Amen. Ashe.
Amen. Ashe. And now it is, right now, even now. And please know that you have experienced wonderful prayer. This is what we do. We do not just prayer. We use a method of scientific prayer. We are knowing that, first of all, prayer works all the time. And especially when, as Reverend Michael Beckwith would say, we pray rightly. We pray aright, and it's just scientific. It's a prayer that Jesus used. It's a prayer that is so basic, and we have learned this. We're prayer professionals. So I thank you so much for leading us in prayer. And as prayer professionals, use us. You can use us by having us pray. I mean, that's a wonderful song by Agape. Use me, use us. This is what we're here for. Uh, so you can send an email. You can do this email for now, revrod17@gmail.com, or you can call 844-295-5155, and all of your prayer requests are kept in the strictest of confidence. We basically know that, we know that prayer is answered. So number one, let us know when your prayer is answered. Let us know, hey, great, thank you so much. And if for whatever reason that prayer has not materialized, let us know. And we will continue to do our spiritual mind treatment. We're going to treat our minds about the truth and know that you are included in that. And let us know that, hey, you know what? Can you keep praying for me? And we will do so. So let us know, and we have no doubt that the prayer works. It's not up to us. We don't tell God when, you know, we just make the intention known in mind, in heart, and spirit, and in the soul. So you let us know if life is so good you don't know how to handle it. Give us a call, send us an email, and we will pray that there is within you more than enough to handle that good. That good and plenty. There's plenty within you to handle it, and we'll know the truth. If there's anything less than that, most certainly use us as well to know the truth about whatever situation you're going through. And if you need more in depth time, then you can contact us as well. And we can have what we call a practitioner session where, there is a fee and it's only for our time. And, no one is turned away. If it seems like you don't have whatever it might take, we'll pray on that too. However, no one is turned away. So definitely contact us and use us. So I do want to start off by saying, or continue by saying, please feel free to share this now as you're watching on Facebook. Share it with somebody, invite somebody to join in either now or when it's over. And yeah, so we appreciate that. Spread the word. And we're going to have a good time with the word because we're ending the month talking about peace. And we've been talking about it, about individually, collectively, what peace looks like, what it feels like. Now we're talking about putting all the pieces of peace together, putting the pieces together. And I love that because it's right up there with love. We got love, peace, joy, and with the foundation of love, peace is right there. And when we have love and peace, you can't help but be in joy. So I think it's important that we look at the ways in which we can bring peace together, the different ways of practicing peace, the different concepts that we use. Because as many people as there are on the planet, is that many different ways to practice peace. All right. So again, I want to introduce Daphne Germaine. We're going to unmute yourself and just introduce yourself. I know I did mention that you are an Agape practitioner, and what else would you like us to know?
Thank you. I have been a practitioner initially with CSL, and I got my initial license in 1987. Reverend Michael at that time was my instructor as I was moving through the practitioner classes. And as he branched off from CSL to divine the Agape International Spiritual Center, I moved with him. And so I've been with Agape for the whole conception of its time. At Agape, when you become an emeritus practitioner, they call us master practitioners now. And it's just my pleasure and my desire to be of service, to help lift the consciousness of any listener, anyone who is seeking to find a way to see the light at the end of their own tunnel, to know that how is it possible, and it's through spiritual principles that makes the journey light and gives one confidence to feel that we are not alone. We are spaces in spirit. We are spirit having a spiritual incarnation. So when that is reinforced and we become comfortable with the idea that our life is actually physically God's expression of itself, then communication is better and our lives become easier to manage.
Mm. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for saying yes to joining in on this celebration. It's a definitely a pleasure to meet you, and we connected at the People of African Descent in New Thought conference in Unity Village, and
Yes,
right? Yes, yeah,
yes, that's where we connected, and we
yes,
found we have a perhaps a even deeper connection. But yes, it's
yes.
it was a pleasure to meet you and to feel that it was sort of serendipitous the way that we kind of came together and found the bond of our spiritual intention to even want to work together. So thank you so much for inviting me to your broadcast.
You're very welcome. And so we are talking about peace. We're talking about the ways in which we can be about the peace. The question is, what's minds to do? It's starting to become a very popular question in not just spiritual communities, but all over. But what's minds to do when it comes to peace? When it comes to uh, the opportunity to let folks know that that peace is not just possible, but that it's here and now. Yeah, and one of the first things to recognize is that peace, like love and joy, are not only internal, but they're eternal. You know, they've
The
never.
bread of life,
Say it again, please.
the bread of life.
Oh, yes, yeah. It's sustaining. Yes,
Yes,
absolutely. And that's another thing that I think a lot of people don't realize. Thank you for mentioning that. Uh, the bread of life is essential. You know, peace is essential internally. We need to be at peace with ourselves. I know I hear people say, "Oh, I need to make peace with myself," you know, because we're going through conflict and confusion and feeling at odds or against our own self. It's like there's nothing worse than having an argument with yourself and losing the argument. You know, that's, that's rough. You know, but how many people go through that? Feel like I'm losing every argument for myself and fighting myself. Uh, and you hear people say that. I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, what must we do? What is minds to do? Quite honestly, I think the very first thing is to be still, is to not have to try to think of anything. And whether we realize it or not, that's getting back to a state of oneness. It's like, who am I? Whose am I? You know, I am God's beloved child. And I think when we start to align ourselves with a truth like that, that's our journey back to realizing who we are. And then there is no strife or conflict within myself because I'm realizing there's only one. There's not two sides of me. You know,
so
there are. Go ahead.
yeah, so Reverend Rodney, that point is the point,
Hmm.
is to come to the realization of the oneness. And the way to that I have found and what Agape teaches and all CSL teach is that to the way to get to that space is to cultivate a meditation of inner visioning, a time of being still and sensing the presence. That is not something to do on the fly. That's not something to do like you grab a cup of coffee and a donut on your way out the door. You say, thank you, God, for this day, and then you're gone. It's something to cultivate as being, setting an intention and being still and feeling. And that
Hmm.
feeling doesn't happen automatically. Your intention has to be pure. You have to really cultivate and be patient with oneself in order to get to that space where you can feel the universe attempting to communicate to you. individually.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you for bringing that up. A lot of times I know there can be frustration when it becomes a want. I want peace. And thinking that it is going to have it falls into the category of instant gratification. It's like, okay, where is it? I prayed for it. I meditated for a few minutes. I don't feel at peace, and the mind, what we call the monkey mind, is just going, 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 and expecting it to sprout up like Jack and the Beanstalk. You put it in the ground, it comes up automatically. No, like you said, it does take work, and it doesn't have to be called work, but it is a process. And it has benefits. It does pay off to be in the process of cultivating peace. And it's a practice. Yeah. And that's another thing that I believe escapes people, that it's a practice. It's not a one and done, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And, there's a quote. We have some quotes I want to bring up. Let's work with the first one. And it says, peace is always at the center of our own soul. That's by Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, uh, science of mind and spirit. Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, peace is always at the center of our own soul. It puts me in the mindset of that is the point of that is our direction to come into, to release the world of effects, the what they call, the, like you say, the monkey mind or the race consciousness, the popular mind, to come to seek that first. And it is at the center waiting for our acknowledgement and our acceptance of it. So, in that perspective, I always like to say this planet is a school. This is a planet where we are learning from the time we come through the womb. We first learn to lift our head. Everything is a lesson. And so that's why when we're seeking peace, it can't be um, we should not expect it to be a swift thing. It has to be something cultivated, as you're saying. It's a practice, because just like any other subject that you would take in school, from the first grade through, you had to practice over and over and over again until the mind was in alignment with the intention. So that's how to reach that place of peace, through the intention of cultivating the practice.
Oh, thank you so much. And you touched on some points there that I love. Uh, One of the things that I mentioned to people about learning and education is that when there's a test, um, there are people who have great fear in taking a test. They don't know the answer. They're not going to do well. And I like to remind people that anytime you're taking a test, the answers are already known. you know, it's like if the instructors, they have the answers. The people who are grading the test, they know the answers. And the truth about it is, and I actually learned this uh, through this teaching, is that the answers are already within us. I've heard Reverend Michael say the answer is you. Yeah, we have the answer within us already, and it's really to get into our center and to be at peace and to be still, to hear that we already know the answer, and the answer is already there, like you mentioned already. It's there, and we just have to have that level of peace that says, oh, okay, there it is. It's there already. I just have to be vulnerable and open to listen, because the monkey mind that we've been mentioning operates through fear, and the ego that wants the attention, that wants to take all the credit for everything. And it doesn't want to give credit to the still small voice. And let's bring up another quote. It says, "We must practice the presence of peace consciously, definitely, and deliberately. If we can do it individually and in the family, and to a certain degree in our offices and businesses, which we can, why can't we do it for the whole world? We can." And that's from Ernest Holmes. World peace is not an illusion. And basically, what he's saying is that, yeah, peace is present and we can do it in all of our affairs. I think you get to hear that in 12-step language. It says, we practice these principles in all of our affairs. We get to know that the truth is ever available at all times. And we can do it everywhere. If we can do it in one area, we can do it all areas. Oh, and here's a question that comes up for everybody. And would you like to tackle that one?
What is one action I can take to make the world a more peaceful place? I would say first find the peace within oneself.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can't heal the world unless we are living from wholeness. And the wholeness comes from our awareness of who and what we are. And the awareness of who and what we are comes from the practice of meditating and being willing to be in the silence long enough with the intention, knowing that what we are seeking is seeking to reveal itself to and through us. Mm-hmm. So there's something coming to us as we are going to it. And really, it's always been there. We are the ones that are doing the moving towards, because peace is an absolute. So as we train ourselves, first of all, we have to trust that this does work. And then once we have that understanding, that trust that we are actually doing something that's going to shift our life and our perspective, then we will do it more readily. We'll seek this out. We'll want to be a part of our own journey of life being good now on this planet. No matter what's going on, our life can still be a good life, experientially, as well as internally. And then what we're able to give is from that place of the overflow.
And it's so important that everyone realize that you don't run out of peace or love or joy. It's eternally within us as well. Not just in us, but there is no limit. There is an ever abundant, as you mentioned, an overflow. We're coming from the overflow. Last night, I went to one of my favorite restaurants to get a meal, and all of a sudden there was this loud honking outside, and it turns out that a car was double parked, blocking a guy who wanted to get out. And he kept honking and honking and honking and honking. I mean, and the guy in the car, for whatever reason, who was blocking, wasn't paying attention. And so then the guy who was being blocked, he got out. He went to the guy who was blocking him, and then that guy got out, and they started yelling at each other, and don't touch my car, and get out of the space, and give me room. And they just kept yelling, and they weren't listening to each other. And so by the time I came out of the restaurant, because I was going to take a stand for peace, I was going to actually do my part, and some bystanders went over and kind of separated them a little bit. And so there were three of us there, really doing our best to de-escalate and bring the peace, not by yelling and screaming, but by speaking to them. And I was rather amazed that we were all on the same page without saying anything to each other. And we were just speaking. And this is pretty much what it is. Personally, to have more peace in my own life. Um, well, first of all, before entering into that conflict, I had to be at peace with myself. Yeah, I had to say, hey, how can I help? What is mine to do? And we all were able to do that. I had to see that situation already being turning into a peaceful outcome. I had to have the peace income so it could have a peaceful outcome. And so we ask folks, hey, what do I need to do personally to have more peace in my own life? Yeah, what is it that we can think, say, and do for ourselves? And you mentioned that word process. Process something that is still in the way of my peace. Is it, I mean, if I'm going through some personal issue, and how do people say, oh, my whole day is ruined? You ask somebody, hey, how are you today? Good morning. They're like, what's good about it? And they just damn their whole day. you know. And so you ask yourselves, and this is for everybody watching, listening, what can you do to have more peace in your life? What process? Yeah, we know about prayer and meditation. How do we get to that point? Mm. So that's one of the things that comes up.
Yeah. It's the intention has to be really solvent. The intention has to be purposeful. You have to look at what you're looking at, I believe. We
Mm-hmm.
have to look at our journey and see it as an ongoing thing. We're never complete in this life. We're always moving to greater awareness, more nirvana, more enlightened awareness of being the thing itself. It always comes back to that. There's
Mm.
no other journey, there's no other place, there's nothing else to do but to become enlightened that our life is God's life. And so when we take our life seriously and we realize that the way we've been doing it hasn't worked, it hasn't worked for us and maybe those who are connected with us, we have to at some point make a decision.
Mm.
It's a master class. It's a uh, discipline to make yourself sit down on a regular basis, be still, read something that feeds your soul, quiets your mind, and allows you to open to the possibility of greater fulfillment. You know, as I say, every part of our life has been a learning, has
Mm.
been a class of learning how to do one thing that you would never know how to count if you didn't practice. You
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't know how to spell if you didn't practice. Walk, you had to practice. Someone had to teach you how to talk correctly. Everything that we do is a practice. The only thing that we don't practice is breathing because that's God keeping itself alive.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. And actually, there's a lot of folks who who are not necessarily breathing correctly. They have a lot of shallow breath, and
Yeah.
when you have shallow breath, you're not getting enough oxygen in your brain and when you to the rest of your body, and that can create distress, and then we're not at peace. So it helps to learn how to breathe better. To have that breath that goes deep within. Not that we have to force it, but just and breathe fully. And so there's another teaching moment. But so I love the concept of that because uh, it's it took me a long time to learn how to tie my shoes. I just want.
Me
I had to
too.
practice a lot. I was like everybody else could get it, and I just couldn't get it. It took a long time. and, and I got rewarded. By finally I could do it, and then I take them apart and do it again, and take it apart and do it again, and I'm like, oh my God, it was like a revelation. I'm like, oh, uh, and I remember that it was a big thing for me, um, and I'm thinking about what it is with peace. There is, I mean, a lot of the things we do in life is for reward, and even if we don't do it for reward, how great do we feel when we are rewarded? When we're like, oh yes, success. I remember I was had come out of a relationship that wasn't working very well, and the person, she was not letting it go. And I was a new student in this teaching. I was taking our foundations class, and they said, just pray for her. Pray that she is at peace within her own soul, and that she does things that bring her joy. And I mean, I'm just learning how to do this stuff, and I said okay, and I would just pray for her to be happy, pray for her to be at peace. And my point is that these things don't happen automatically. Just because I'm praying for peace doesn't mean automatically it's going to happen. She's going to get it. There are people praying for peace, praying for wars to end, and they're not happening automatically. Yeah. However, eventually she got it. She's, I can't say how. All I know is I did my part, and she was at peace. And when I actually bumped into her at a store, it was peaceful. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, this works. And we have to trust that it works even before we see it show up on the outside. We have to know it on the inside, and just trust that it's going to materialize, it's going to manifest, it's going to show up even better than we can imagine. So it's like, so I'm saying yes, have faith and trust that peace is all that it is, that it's all it's cracked up to be. Yes, you'll feel better in your own soul, and then you get to see it for each and every one. You'll get to proclaim it to family members, like, hey, I'm at peace with this. And if they're not at peace with themselves, be the example.
And, I would like to include in what you're saying,
Uh-huh.
when we are praying for peace, we really don't know how much of an influence we're having on the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be apparent, but it is really still about us holding that awareness that what we are doing is God sent. We're
Mm-hmm.
doing our part. So how it shows up, it might seem like a tiny thing, but we just really don't know. And so our faith cannot be based on what the appearances are.
Mm-hmm.
Our faith has to be based on knowing who we are, connecting
Yeah.
to what we're connected to, and trusting that it is making a difference in ways that we may never see on the
Mm.
larger scale. Because peace
That's
has
right.
been an evasive experience for the planet for eons, or
Mm-hmm.
centuries and thousands of years. Man has been at war, but we just really don't know what's happening on the underbelly of it all. But that should not dissuade us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And well, let's see. Whoops, where'd it go? Ah. And this speaks to that very thing. There is a power for good in the universe, greater than you are, and you can use it. And that is absolutely what it's about. It's like that power is available to each and every one of us, and we can use it. Now, the little known fact is we do use it. We use it all the time. And that power for good is ever available. There's nothing that you have to do to use the power. this is from Ernest Holmes, this thing called life. And it's like, yes. And did you want to mention anything about that?
No, I think what you're saying is full. Um, we're in this space where we have to trust who we are.
Mm,
We have to accept that who we are is an essential part of the transformation of life. We are that, and to move from our head to our heart
mm,
and be influenced by the knowledge, the science of mind, what the science of how to use your mind is about.
right.
That's the essential of what Ernest Holmes was teaching, is how to use our mind scientifically so that we can be an asset to ourselves and to the planet, to others. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And part of that process is number one, recognizing that there is one power, one life. That life is the life of the creator, whatever name you choose to use doesn't matter. That life individualizes itself in as us. It's just when I think when we get that, and we don't have to get more than that, when we get that, we'll recognize that yes, we are one. Yeah, we are this one love. Yeah, this one aspect of love. All in I call them individualized expressions of the one. We are ones of the one. And when we see that, we're not going to want to try to hurt anyone, because if whatever hurt that we think we're doing to someone, we're doing to ourselves, because we're all one. We are inextricably linked. That we think we're separate. I remember in this teaching when I first came, it was like you can't in scientifically uh, there is no space between where it looks like I end and you begin. Like we are one on the smallest level that's we can't perceive it with our eyes, but we know that the energy flow, that we're all connected. And it's when we see that, we'll see like, well, if I'm not being peaceful and that starts from me, then and I think it's coming from someplace else. No, I on some level have accepted not being peaceful,
And
and,
and you
and
know,
I have a choice. Yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, you know, right now I think that it can be perceived as we're speaking from lofty places,
Mm-hmm.
but understand, and I'm speaking to the listeners now, to understand that errors are made. I drive down the street, and if someone cuts me off or does something, I might say something. If something happened. But see, it's not how many times we fall off the wagon, it's how many times we get back on. It's
Mm.
coming back. It's with knowing where home base is. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not like judging us as being unworthy or anything that is on a negative tone because we err.
Yes.
It's about returning to what we know is the real path of healing and truth. So, this is the gift. Jesus spoke so many parables and he showed so many ways of how humans have to accept themselves with their foibles and everything, because we're still going after this one goal of self realization. So, it's like not having a pity party and staying
Mm-hmm.
there, not beating up on oneself because you don't feel like you made the grade on some level. It's the can you forgive and get back on track, because the goal is to come into the consciousness of oneness.
Absolutely. And this is our purpose on the planet. We are here to return in consciousness in our lives to the realization of oneness. the recognition and realization of oneness. It reminds me of the symbol, the science of mind symbol. We are descended from the one thought, from the one mind, and we descend into form. And I believe our job is to become ascended, to back on our ascension in the realization of who we are, where we're from, and whose we are. And all the why and all that maybe doesn't matter. But it does assist us in that realization of truth, that yes, I and that which created me are one. I and my Father, Mother, God are one. And that includes each and every other one of ones of the one. Yes. So thank you. And yes, every opportunity, like you mentioned, it's a teaching moment. We can learn, like, oh, wait a minute. How does that saying go? How's that working for you? I get to ask that of myself. Well, gee, I didn't like that. How's that working for me? If I want to curse somebody out for cutting me off, well, I'm the only one that's going through it. I'm the only one feeling it, whether they can hear me or not. Most of the time, it's not. you know.
Thank God.
Yeah, and I'm feeling a sense of strife within my own
Yeah,
being. Well, how's that working for me? No, let me
right.
return. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
And the one other thing I want to add to that is when we look at the foibles, when we look at our own error, if we're being really honest, it really gives us an opportunity to see how others can make mistakes. When we
Mm-hmm.
see that we make mistakes, if we can forgive ourselves, we it's just allowing,
Mm.
allowing. Everyone is on the same journey.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone just chat put in the chat, open at the top, you know, un un just open at the top so that there's no constriction of how to be. It's to be all that we can be.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that includes, as you mentioned earlier, no judgment. We're all on the path. We're all on different levels of the path. We're all on and different. Uh, uh, um, some have come further, or different speeds. There's not. It's not a race. And very often, uh, we first and foremost can find it very easy to judge ourselves. I'm not there yet. When I get there, then and we have all these phrases and sayings that get in the way of enjoying life in the moment, peace in the moment,
Yes.
love in the moment, joy in the moment, from judging and criticizing what we're not, what we don't have, or blaming other people for for not doing something for us, or doing something so called to us. So we victimize ourselves and put other people in that as well. Uh, so this is great. I'm so glad that you're here with us. We had more quotes we could have covered. However, at this point, one of the things that we do always suggest, or maybe we can call it a um, prescription. We prescribe affirmations.
Mm,
Those are one of the things that we can use to help turn our experience around, turn our thinking around, because when you change your thinking, you change your life. That's the tagline. So we know that we can use affirmations to uproot the thoughts and beliefs that we have been affirming that are not working for us. Even in the moment, this is what we can do in the moment. When I'm driving my car and I want to, affirm something negative to somebody, that had to start between my two ears. So I had already affirmed it to myself about myself before I want to put it on somebody else.
uh-huh.
I can, like, oh, I can breathe and affirm the truth, not a greater truth, the truth. that all is well. I'm at peace with myself. I have plenty of time to get where I'm going. Nobody can get in the way or whatever sounds good. However, we have some affirmations to assist in affirming peace in our lives and therefore for all. So I would invite you to join me um, and in leading the affirmations. And I'll do the first one, and we invite everyone to take a breath and then recite the affirmation. I like to do it twice to bring it home. Okay, and do each one twice. Okay, so I'll start off and uh, so take a breath and repeat. It is so that our inner peace shows up in all of our affairs. And let's take another breath. It is so
Is so
that our
that
inner peace
peace
shows
shows
up in
in
all of our affairs.
affairs.
And so it's your turn. Take a breath.
It is so that peace begins with me. It is so that peace begins with me.
And I invite each one to take a breath. It is so that I am the peace I see in the world. Let's do that again. Taking a breath. It is so that I am the peace I see in the world. And so it is, and now it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So, Daphne, at this point, we're going to um, go. I'm going to go into a quick spiritual mind treatment, and we'll bring you back on for our close. Okay.
Yes.
So, thank you so very much. All right. And so knowing there's only one power, one presence, one life, that life is God's life. That life is a life of peace and love and joy, of health, wealth, prosperity, all of the good that's imaginable and even beyond. I am knowing that each one is taking a moment to say, hey, how is this working for me? How is this life working for me? Am I feeling peace? Am I feeling that I am at peace in my own soul? Am I feeling at peace in the center of my soul? And just taking a moment to ask and reflect and be vulnerable enough to say, maybe not. What areas of my life of not feeling at peace? Am I not feeling at peace in my finances? Is there seemingly conflict? And what is not working for me? And so I invite each one to say, there is peace in my financial affairs. I am knowing that everything that is necessary for me to feel peace and joy with my finances is available to me right now, in the here and the right now. I accept that fully, that my peace in my finances allows money to grow, allows all that is necessary in having an abundant life grow. And I am at peace and feeling at peace with that. I am feeling at peace in my relationships. I know there's only one true relationship. That is a relationship that the divine, that the creator, that God has with itself, expressing in, through, and as each and every one. And each and every one opens up to the understanding, to standing by the truth that each and every one is of the one, that there is no separation, not only between God and myself, God and oneself, God and yourself, knowing there's only one life, that we are all of this one life. We're all divinely intricately connected. And therefore, there is never any reason to have strife. There's never a reason for war, because we're all one. And the harm that one does to one, they're doing to themselves, they're doing to each and every other one. And the good that each one does for themselves. It's good that is happening for each and every one. So I am claiming peace. I am claiming good and plenty of it in the name of peace. I am knowing that this is true for each and every one. I know that this word spoken into the law of divine right action is already coming to fulfillment. That each and every one who is proclaiming and claiming peace for themselves and all others, that it is cumulative. It's adding up. Oh, it's the process that is bringing peace for all. Because if one person is not at peace, then none of us are at peace. And I know that each and every one is increasing the threshold for peace to happen in themselves and in the world. And I am naming it and claiming it and knowing it to be so, spoken into the law of divine right action. It is so. It must be done. And I simply allow it to be this good as it unfolds easily and effortlessly by saying it is so, and so it is, and now it is. Peace and blessings, beloved. And so, at this point, I do want to point out that as you just experienced, we do prayer. We do prayer for ourselves. We do prayer for the planet and for all. And requests for prayer support can be sent to email revrod17@gmail.com or call 844-295-5155. Your prayer requests are kept in the strictest of confidence. And we give thanks for the opportunity to do our prayer work with you, for you, and most certainly about you in any situation that you're experiencing. I also want to mention that we're grateful for your donations to One Love, and that can be done through PayPal. You go to our website, onelovecenter.org, and look for donate button. You can also do the Cash Me app, $OneLoveCSL. And so we want to thank you for those who have been giving, maybe for the first time. We give thanks for that as well. And any amount is welcome, whether it's $1 or $1,000,000. Whatever you feel that you are free to share. It's not a hard to be at peace with your giving as well. Okay, if you're not at peace with it, then practice until you are. Whatever amount works well for you. And that's not just with us, in any area of your life. So we have affirmations of abundance that we can assist you with this. And however you feel comfortable in giving, I like to put my hand, feel that heartbeat, feel that energy that's going out, that is that vibratory field of giving, of awareness. And so let's do the affirmation of abundance together. It says, money, as one of many gifts of spirit, is good. And as I share my offerings, I know that I am actively creating a space to receive more gift, more money, and more good. And I am grateful for the ability to give and for the good work these gifts do in our center and in our world. And now it is. Peace and blessings. Excuse me. We have some announcements. If you could read that for me, Daphne, I appreciate it.
All right. One Love Center is requesting a member for technical assistance in managing our broadcast. Please contact us through revrob17@gmail.com or the number 844-295-5155 to be of service. Bless you. Thank you. And remember, when you are of service, you are really servicing yourself. You're making the world a richer place. Ashe. Okay, beyond limits move into living beyond your limiting beliefs by registering for our classes Beyond Limits, www.onelovecenter.org/event starting Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. Treat yourself to this new beginning. Enjoy the journey. You're muted.
Thank you so very much, Daphne. And the class we're intending to start in October. For more information, you'll check out our website and to also register. So thank you again, and thank you so much, Daphne. Thanks everybody behind the scenes, Lita and Sherry, providing that wonderful love energy. And for those who were in attendance, I want to thank um, all those who are not only attending but making comments. We had our practitioner, Ellen Swazo. Thank you so much. And we also had, let me see, Deborah Ballard. I don't think you made a comment, but thank you so much for being with us. And anybody else? All right. So, and everybody else, and all those who are watching the recording, thank you so much. You can still make comments even in the recording because we'll get to see that as well. So, I want to again thank all of this that has been happening, contributing to greater peace on the planet. And Daphne, do you have any closing words before we get to our closing prayer?
It's always for me a pleasure to serve, and I so appreciate us coming together. I hope that I can be of support with you again in the future. And I'm going to hold a visualization of your ministry growing by leaps and bounds.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And so, yes, now we're going to, and please, I invite you to join me in the closing prayer. Okay. And so just knowing that all there is one. And in that one is the unlimited, unbounded peace. The peace that lives in the heart and the mind and the soul of each and every one. And we know that that there is always an opportunity to be the peace. Even when we have opportunities to fall out of that realm of peace, we know we can return. And I turn my word over to Daphne.
And so, in joining in this, knowing that peace it is an isness that we are opening to receive and to allow it to express through us. I know the circle gets bigger and wider, that is more inclusive, that life is good and continues to express and expand in that way, that we are here as evidence of God's goodwill. And so I say thank you, Father, Mother God, for this day that has never occurred in the history of the world. And I just release this word now as I pass.
And knowing the word is released, knowing it is so, and it is so good, we just simply affirm that it is so, and so it is, and now it is. Yes. Thank you, beloved.